is bringing quality opportunities for our citizens to achieve their goals that they want to see in their lives.
Welcome to the Southside Show, your local news and information source for Atlanta's South Side.
Welcome to the Southside Show. I'm your host, Artie Jones III. The Southside Show will introduce you to talented individuals, visionary leaders, innovative entrepreneurs, and game changers that make us Southside strong. Today's guest is Mr. Maceo Rogers, who serves as the Economic Development Director for the City of East Point. How you doing, Maceo?
I'm doing great, Artie. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. All right.
Super.
Well, thank you for coming here to the Southside Show to update us on what's going on with the City of East Point and kind of talk to us about a couple of your personal pursuits that I'm well aware of since we've known each other. It seems as though that every time I look up, you have another talent. You're doing a lot of great things that I would like to aspire to do one day. But first, let's go into the City of East Point. The last time I was talking to you, you had some projects that was going on in the downtown area. Mm-hmm. Also, you guys were doing a lot of film work with local. With a lot of productions. Kind of talk to us about what's going on with the City of East Point.
Very good, thank you. And it's great to be here. This is a super opportunity, and I always enjoy when I have a chance to share some of the great things that are going on in the City of East Point. Just from a programmatic end, of course, we were the recipients of a 2019 Brownsfield Award through the EPA, which warranted $300,000 in citywide assessment. So we've been able to do some phase ones as well as phase two remediations throughout the city, various projects that we're working on. In addition to that same year, 2019, we were also the recipient of the Food Well Alliance Urban Agriculture award, which netted $150,000 overall. Since then, we've gotten an additional $250,000 through the USDA. What we've done up to this point is that we've established a LEFEC program, which is a Local Food Ecosystem Commission Board, which guides policy, program initiatives that they want to see happening within the city. And of course, it allows us a chance to educate the citizens on how to grow their own fresh food, vegetables, fruit, that sort of thing. And of course, we've been able to do numerous workshops, educational workshops, as well as a couple of bucket garden workshops. And of course, this allows those that are interested to go from start to finish on how to not only plant their food, but how to cultivate and grow it. And so those are some exciting initiatives. Now, of course, we have two tax allocation districts, one here out in the east in the Camp Creek Marketplace area. That allocation district has been retired, which I'm pleased to say.
Oh, fantastic.
Ahead of time. And we have now the corridors tab, which is primarily involves our downtown business district and some other areas. That is where a new project we're focused on, which is known as the Commons, will be going into. And so we're very excited about that. Hopefully that project will be, I should say it's on target to have its groundbreaking sometime next year. So a very exciting effort going on right there. We have both, state and federal opportunity zones. And so we're trying to make sure that those programs are really out there helping us to sell the city, helping us to market, helping us to recruit new business investment, and of course create jobs. So we have those things that are happening programmatic-wise, but also from a project end, we have some exciting projects going on. Okay. Now, of course, we're very excited about our first brewery coming to the City of East Point. This will be the Atlanta Utility Works by Culture South. Atlanta Utility Works is a historic site right there on R. Martin Street that's going through a complete overhaul, restoration. This brewery, of course, will contain and consist of a manufacturing plant, retail outlet, event space, tap room, and of course, to have a garden to where, school kids can be brought there for training as well, and getting some educational exposure in terms of how this process is actually implemented and how it takes place. So we're very excited about that. Of course, we're just a stone's throw away from the Microsoft project, which is out at South Media Industrial Park,
right.
which is right next to where we are right now. That will be, of course, a 250,000 square feet data center that will create really 50 well-paying jobs. So we're very excited about that project. And then, of course, just moving a little bit closer in towards town, we have the Wood Springs Suite Hotel, a 110-room hotel that will consist of about 104 parking spaces. We'll have some conference meeting space, and of course it's just on the inside of 285, and it really further adds to the fabric of the hospitality makeup that we have here in the city of East Point. So we're very, very excited about those projects, and we have some other projects too, that are in the pipeline.
Now, I understand that your role has even expanded since the last time that we talked, dealing with hospitality and meetings and things of that nature. What are your additional responsibilities with the city of East Point?
Well, we have two development authorities. One is our Downtown Development Authority, and of course the other is our East Point Business and Industrial Development Authority.
Yeah.
Consists of a lot of meetings, obviously, around the clock. There are a number of boards that you are involved with, not only just those two, but the other things, obviously, I just mentioned the Urban Ag program that we have going on. Obviously, the Brownsfield initiative that we have going on. These are constantly ongoing meetings that we're involved with that really keeps me busy, along with just attending and being up on various conferences that you have to attend and be aware of and up on as you go through this whole economic development field.
Right. Okay. Well, it seems as though that you have so many different roles. You have, of course, your business roles professionally, but then you have a lot of personal things, personal pursuits that you're involved in. You're a black belt. And I was surprised. You teach.
Yeah.
You are I would say, a fantastic artist. Just recently, the ATL district had an event, their 20-year anniversary, and I see that your art is featured on the front cover of their magazine, which is awesome. You've done some great artwork and everything. Tell me, when you think about your career and where you've come, if you had some advice for your 18-year-old self, what advice would you tell your 18-year-old self now to? What direction would you tell your 8-year-old self to go in?
I would say focus on what you enjoy. If you have a passion, I would say do that. Now, it's not that your passion at the time has to be the main source in which you derive your income.
Right.
But if you have a love for something and you enjoy doing it and it's fulfilling, then focus and continue to do that. At some point, you might say, look, this is what I want to do full time. This is how I want to make my living. But until that time, do what it takes to make an honest living, a decent living. If you have kids like I do, you want to make sure that that they're educated.
Right.
So you have to make sure that you prepare for that as well. So it's all about balance in terms of how you approach your career and how you spend your time, which is important to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, out of all of your extracurricular activities, what is your most favorite extracurricular activity that you're involved in?
Art. I mean, that was, and of course, I like working out. I run. Of course, you just mentioned, alluded to, I do martial arts as well, teach martial arts. I like going to symphonies, concerts. I'm an avid arts festival, arts gallery type of guy. So, I get invitations to go to art events quite often, and I try and make as many of those as I can. But at the same time, I love creating it. And so when I have those free moments, that's what I'm doing. Whether it is just brainstorming or reading or looking at other folks' work in terms of what they're doing, I get inspiration from that.
Okay.
Because, you know, I just think that ideas are generated from everything that you have an opportunity to view. And of course, you know, as I'm working, as I'm meeting, you never know what I might walk away with today visually from this experience that I might somehow incorporate in a future work of mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
You seem to be a creator. You like creating things and seeing things through. How long have you been with the city of East Point now?
Almost 8 years. February
Okay,
will be
8 years. Okay.
Uh-huh.
What does the city of East Point look like in the next 50 years to you? With all the work that you've put into it, all the things that's going on, what will it look like in 50 years?
I think in 50 years we'll have a wonderfully balanced ecosystem where we have an enhanced quality of living, second to none. I think health will be a major factor where everyone has access to health care, everyone lives with a healthy foundation. We'll have communities, safe walking streets, parks, recreation facilities. I think that we're in an era whereas, you know, we are concerned about the planet with respect to climate, and we are concerned with the quality of our water. I mean, we are concerned with the environment in which we live. So I envision a healthy environment where people are living amongst themselves in a very harmonious ecosystem type of makeup. And I think that when you have those components that bring us all here together in the metro Atlanta area, and of course in East Point, my city, I think that, you know, those things are paramount in terms of what resonates in people's minds.
Okay. In your professional life, what is the biggest challenge right now that you're facing in trying to continue to develop the city of East Point?
I think, you know, it's always a challenge is perception. You know, we are always challenged with what and how we are viewed. And I think sometimes you have to really be patient while steadily working to impact the kind of change that you want. And I think, you know, with respect to business investment opportunities, the jobs that we've been able to create over the years, I think that, you know, we are poised. Like, for example, we're right next, across the street from Camp Creek Marketplace. We had a grand opening just yesterday, and of Cadence Bank, for example. And the impact and contributions of that banking facility amongst the others that we have out there, I think is going to be enormous for the city of East Point. So it's those type of things where we're doing a lot to change the landscape, but not just about, you know, bringing business into the city. It's bringing quality opportunities for our citizens to achieve their goals that they want to see in their lives. And by having those options with respect to having the ability to get a good job, I think provides that opportunity.
Okay. How long have you been in economic development now?
Oh boy, I've been officially, well, I started back in the mid 1980s, but I was a computer artist, and so I worked with economic developers like myself, like yourself, in terms of just putting together programs like a slide presentation. And I often got to sit in with the project manager and the client in terms of putting that information together, just initially forming and formulating a meeting presentation to be presented at a future time. And from that point, it just evolved into me getting into economic development. So it's been a nice marriage for me, being able to bridge economic development, my passion for art, in a harmonious kind of coexistence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what piece of advice would you give someone that was starting out in economic development?
I think that you have to have a love for service. I think that you have to enjoy the opportunity to bring about change, changing people's lives based on opportunities that you would have come into the city that they might have a chance to go after. But I also think that you have to have love for just talking with folk, meeting with folk. You got to have some personality. You got to be amped up every day, whether you want to or not, to say, hey, look, I want to talk with you. I want to help you resolve your issues. I want to walk with you together in terms of achieving your goals as a business investor. The challenge with businesses is that, when people see things coming up out the ground, it's important to remind the public it didn't happen overnight. It may have taken weeks, months, years for that visual, that reality to take place.
Right.
And with that, then you have to know that, look, there's some time to be spent. You have to invest time into that effort because, again, it doesn't happen at the snap of a finger. And so I think that, again, you have to have a love for what you're doing. You have to enjoy serving and helping others. And then, of course, you have to enjoy really just meeting and talking with folk.
Okay. For our Southside Show guests, and I didn't do this earlier, but of course, you and I, we know the definition. What does an economic development person do or director do?
Yeah, so my day-to-day is to market and promote the city of East Point, to recruit business investment, create jobs, grow our tax base, and of course, enhance the quality of living for all of our citizens and businesses. So again, I work with setting policy, program initiatives, incentive designs for things that we want to carry out in the future, but also, again, just constantly meeting with businesses, brokers, developers, consultants, ED agencies, business owners that are going to really be part of our network of getting the job done. I always say, no one does it by him or herself. It takes a team.
Right.
And when you have a team that's working together in unison, then that team becomes the engine that drives the train, and that's what I like to think about, the team that we have in place there in the city of East Point.
Yeah. So what do you think is the strongest personality trait that a person needs being in economic development?
I think that you have to be a person who believes in follow-up as a trait that you are guided by, because the companies are going to call you, of course, but if you say you're going to get back with them within a 24-hour period, stick with it, live by it, and you need to make sure that that is a trait that you stand by, because I think at the end of the day, that gets you a lot of distance down the road. The fact that you say what you're going to do and you follow up, the action is the thing that matters. You can say it, but if you don't act on it, it's not going to get you anywhere.
Right. As you know, I'm from Southeast Georgia, and there aren't a whole lot of economic development people that look like myself. So I didn't necessarily have a mentor. Did you have a mentor coming up in economic development?
Yeah, I think that I can think of a couple. I used to have a great buddy of mine that I worked with at Fulton County, the late Robert Simmons. He was a great mentor. He, took me on his arms and showed me a lot of the ropes that he'd learned earlier on. Another a great buddy of mine, Franklin O'Neill, late Franklin O'Neill was a great mentor. And then, of course, most recently, when I was in DeKalb County, my mentor there was Maria Mullins.
Okay.
And she was a great mentor of mine who I reflect on some of the things that we did often in terms of growing a lot of the business opportunities and investment results that we had when we worked together.
Okay.
There.
I guess it was about 9 months ago to a year, you had this art show. And I was there for most of it, and then I had to leave at the very end when things were just getting cranked up. But you told a fantastic story of how you started out with artwork and your mother and everything. Could you please?
Yeah, sure. So, I do a lot of mixed media art, and I work with dirt amongst an array of other things.
Dirt?
Yeah, dirt.
D-I-R-T.
Dirt, yeah, just plain old dirt that you dig up from your backyard and you want to do something with it.
Okay.
So when I was growing up, when I discovered that I had a liking for just drawing, and I'm talking just basic stick figures, I couldn't draw, first up until that point, I simply couldn't draw. And so when I discovered that I could draw, I was sitting on my desk in the 4th grade, and the teacher said, hey, look, you got 3 things you can do. You can put your head on your desk and go to sleep, you can do your homework, or you can read a book. Well, I decided I didn't want to do either one of those. I took out my book, and I just said said to myself I wanted to doodle, or at least try and sketch, because I just had that feeling. And just like magic, I started drawing, and I couldn't believe it. It's like my hand was doing it, but I wasn't in control, and so I had this grave interest and desire to do that. And so I started drawing up on all of my notebook paper.
Okay.
And then that spread over to my 2 brothers, one older, one younger, and I started drawing up on all of their notebook paper. And so back in those days, you can only get a ream of 100 sheets.
Right.
And so we split it 3 ways. So we had about a third each, and so I would draw up all of mine. I would forget about the homework. I was just drawing because I was so excited. Well, the end result of that story is that my mother found out what was going on, and she would scold at me all the time until I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't draw on that because I didn't have the resources. Right. But what I did have was this vast yard, front and back, nothing but dirt. And I went out, I looked out one day, and I picked up a stick and I just started drawing on the ground. And I drew on every space you could possibly imagine.
On the ground?
On the ground. And so that went from my parents' yards to my grandparents' yards to relatives' yard. I was just drawing all the time. And so years later...
About how old were you?
I was like 9, 10, because that's when I really discovered that I had this liking, because I felt that I had a little talent and I wanted to use it. And so I started drawing, and to this day, I now incorporate that into a lot of my work, such as the piece that you're looking at. That is dirt and acrylic on canvas.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. I remember seeing this in at your art show.
Yeah. So because I didn't have the resources, the ground was it.
Well, you have come a long ways. I've seen some of your pieces. I've seen I guess how much some of your pieces have sold for. It's just amazing. Some doodling in the dirt.
Yeah.
And what it could actually lead to.
Yeah.
Like I said, over time.
Yeah.
Well, what is your most proud piece that you've done? Now, I like this one particular piece. It was it looks like a guy that was, I guess, shooting basketball, and he started out shooting in a crate, and then
actually that's in that book. Yeah. If you flip to page 11, I think 11 or 10, I think it's back the other way. There it is, right there. Yeah. I
mean, this is just that to me is just like that's my
your favorite.
Now, what is your favorite piece?
Oh man, I have many, Arnie. I have absolute many. The cover is obviously one of my favorites. I was just commissioned to do a piece for the city of Jonesboro. That's a favorite of mine as well. But I have many. It's because I've done so much of this stuff. It's hard to say.
Yeah, you got so many.
Now, if I had them all on the wall, like in the show, then I could probably look at one and say, hey, that's my favorite piece, whatever. But I have several.
Right.
I have several.
Okay. Well, are you a reader?
Yes. I do read.
Yeah. Well, what is your favorite book?
I just finished reading this book called The Color of Law.
Okay.
You know, and that was, you know, you read that and it's.
I've just received that book also as a gift from.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I haven't opened it up yet.
I got you. So it just talks about. Well, I won't. I'll let you read it, but it just talks about, you know, the trials and how things were like unequal and why we are where we are. Basically, it kind of gives you reference points and defines, you know, because we're in the state that we're in, based on some of the obviously economic development challenges too. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, that's one thing that I look at in the communities that I work in, is that they're in a certain condition because certain things happen.
Yeah.
But to be able to fix the problem, most times you have to figure out where it came from.
Absolutely.
And that book, like I said,
absolutely. It's a great read.
Great. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
You know, I'd just like to say this is a proud moment. I love the opportunity to come out and talk about the city of East Point. We have great leadership. You know, we have great things that are going on. We work very, very closely with citizens. I was at just last night the Jefferson Park Neighborhood Association board meeting, and we had all of our, they had the city manager, a couple of our council members, the mayor, all of our directors, and they had members of that association as well as their board members. And it was just a great chance for the city to address some of the questions that they had and to bring about some enlightenment. And so that was a beautiful thing, because it was great to see that they were deeply focused and rooted into where we're going, what we're doing, and together how we're going to get there. And so we had great conversation, without a doubt.
Great.
So,
all right. Well, before we leave, where can individuals get in contact with you at? And then also, where can they see your art?
Oh, okay, great. So you can get in contact with me through our website, which is eastpointcity.org, economic development. Just go to that particular department. Has everything about our programs, initiatives, staff. You can find us there with respect to our contact numbers. And I want you to find me if you want to do some business. So, you know, that's the thing. I want to make it an easy find as much as possible.
Right. And then your artwork.
Yeah, so artbymaceo.com is the website, under construction, modifying it based on, you know, the show that I did earlier this year. And so in the process of really updating and enhancing some of the things that I got out there.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, man, Maceo, appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming out and visiting with us here on the Southside Show. We appreciate what you're doing on the South Side. You're doing some great things. Keep up the good work.
Well, thank you, Artie. And hey, look, man, I'm watching you. I know you're down there in South Fulton, so you're doing some great things too. So
yeah.
Kudos to you.
Yeah, just trying to keep up with you.
With each other, right?
All right. Thank you. And it's a wrap, folks. My time is up. I'm Artie Jones, your host of the Southside Show, bringing you the latest and the greatest that the Southside has to offer. And if you don't remember anything else from this episode, please remember this. Don't sleep on the Southside. Take care.